Okay, so available for any questions that the council might have.
You mentioned that there was possibility of local use of the contaminated soil. What would that be?
Well, depending on levels of contamination in the soil, if it falls below certain thresholds, then it may be if there's a local pit or construction project that could benefit from some fill, it could go there. Yes, yes. So and some places might require structural fill. Some projects might not require structural fill. So, to the extent that the city can identify sites and DEQ agrees that they're an appropriate site, groundwater levels aren't too high, things like that, then they could save a lot of the funding.
Okay, I think I understand.
So to further answer that question, staff has spent quite a bit of time looking at options. And the material isn't of a high enough quality to be a structural fill. It's actually more consistent with some of the spoils that we're creating in some of our construction projects. So the idea that we're looking at presently is to take it to the old quarry up on James Road where we have the spoil site for the CSO project. And blend it in with that material. And of course that wouldn't be the same kind of beneficial use. I mean, it'd be great if you could put it under a project. But keeping in mind that we took it out from underneath the project because it wasn't good enough material. That's why it was removed from the garden, because it wasn't strong enough, it didn't have the structural strength to support the pavers and the project. So with that in mind, there's really no current project that we can incorporate it into. But the idea is that if we can have it on city property that we control, away from groundwater and encapsulated into a bunch of other material, at least we won't be wasting all that fuel hauling to Hillsborough.
Thanks, Joe.
The landfill that was capped at the sports complex, is there any possibility that more soil could be introduced to that site?
No, the sports complex site is completely capped, sealed, closed. We got our letter from DEQ. We actually have a disposal site there, but which is at the quarries on the upper end. But we're trying to reserve that. Trying to find, just to keep in mind, before we had the sports complex and Recology expanded and we offered the work on the lease with the County House of Hazardous Waste, we were disposing of spoiled material up there. That's what contributed to the cap, for I don't know how long since it's been closed, 30, 40 years. We don't have that anymore, so any space that we have to be very careful about the use. Because once we run out, then we're hauling it distances which we just can't, would increase the price of all our projects.
If we could bag the soil and sell it as Goonie memorabilia, we might get it.
Could be onto something.
If I may.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore. Is that what I call you?
I don't care.
So the bottom line is this is going to take more time and possibly more money. And we don't know how long, but we think that we'll be able to develop the site without restrictions.
So let me take a quick stab at this, and then I'm going to let John and Jeff chime in. The timing for the grant project, for this EPA grant project, it was to terminate at the beginning of 2016. That's the end of our grant project. So we're a couple months behind where we'd hoped to have been because of this additional testing we have to do. But we're hopeful because DEQ and EPA are working with us that we'll, with this additional testing, we'll be able to do the remediation still this late summer, early fall, and stay within the window of our grant deadline. That's our hope. The other thing with the costs associated with the project, because we've had the partnerships with the EPA, the additional assessment is being able to be taken care of with the current grant. Because, as John said, the EPA is donating their lab time, that we're able to keep the assessment portion still within the grant. As to what we have to do with the soil, and based upon the testing, and whether or not potentially we can find a location in town to be able to reuse that soil, that could keep us from needing additional money to do the remediation work.
Right, and that's why everyone, the city, DEQ, EPA is really trying very hard to find some local reuse options so that it doesn't exhaust the grant budget and that everything can get hopefully to an NFA without requiring extra funds.
One other point I'd like to add too about the NFA is that when we went into this project and Brett and I started working on the grant, we knew, and we're basically directed by council to let's do this in a way that we don't have to come back to it. And that's always relevant. But that's not very common in these kind of projects, and John could probably clarify. But there are many projects where they don't get the NFA, they get to a point where things are cleaned up, but they know that if you put an elevator shaft in and you're going to be digging in that spot, you got to do some more cleanup. So trying to accomplish that goal of getting that clean bill of health, you're basically done with those two restrictions. One is no groundwater. We're not going to drink the water. We have our own drinking water source. It's not like we're out somewhere where we have to use the groundwater for drinking water. And then what was the other one besides the groundwater?
Residential uses above.
No, but there's one more thing I have to.
Just the management plan, which...
Oh, the management plan, yeah. Which we already had prepared one of those for the garden search and waves, and that was pretty straightforward. Contractor and I prepared that.
Just, if I may, to tag on to Councilor Nichols' question. When we applied for this grant, we were working under the assumption that the whole portion of Heritage Square would be open space or parking. However, staff knew that at some point in time there could be some other discussion about the portion of we're more focused then at the southern side of Heritage Square, which is the parking area, that there may be some interest in a future council having some residential portions of residential development on that site. So as Jeff said, we were from the get-go wanting to be able to clean it up to the highest level possible. When council started having discussions this winter about a mixed-use housing library concept on Heritage Square, we contacted the DEQ and EPA to let them know that there seems to be interest. While we've been talking about we wanted to preserve that possibility for the future, there seems to be more direct interest now. And so what we've been focusing on through our efforts is to get it to that point to be able to allow for a mixed-use building should the council eventually go that way.
Well, that's great. I really hope that it works out. I think Heritage Square could be a wonderful site to help address some of our housing needs in Astoria. And what a better place than Heritage Square, a place that celebrates the workers of Astoria.
I had another question about how far the contamination may have spread. Would there be any possible effect on the senior center when they finally get to redo their basement? Would there be the issues there kind of thing? And also the Legion sitting right in the center of Heritage Square, they do have a basement, I believe. Are there contamination issues that they should be aware of, and for the future of the senior center issues?
Yeah, I would say one thing first and let John talk about the contaminant details.